be advertised too. It has to be advertised. Yeah. Am I not right, Joel, that that's
Yep.
what I thought? I'm gonna collect those papers back, give back.
Welcome, everybody, to Wednesday, February 12th Commissioners Meeting. If you will stand and join me in the pledge and a short prayer. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Lord, we give thanks for the opportunity that you have given us to serve our community. We ask that in doing this service, you grant us wisdom and sound judgment in making good decisions for our county. These things we ask in your name. Amen. Commissioners had the opportunity to review the minutes, and if so, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second. Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 3-0. The commissioners have an opportunity to review the claims, and if so, do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Do I have a second?
Does this exclude the ones we're going to discuss later?
Yes.
Okay, seconded.
Motion is made and seconded to approve claims. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, motion carries 3-0. Have the commissioners had an opportunity to review payroll? And if so, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to approve. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, motion carries 3-0. We have treasurer's monthly report, and we have the clerk's monthly report. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Motion to, or second to accept the treasurer's monthly report.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 That did include the clerks also. Oh, Lord. Corey Murphy. Thank you, sir.
Good morning, Commissioners. I handed out a Ready 1 and 2 update. Not much new information, but I thought it'd be helpful to have it in written form since we talk about it often, but these projects, we're on to a 2 or 3 year time period here if you're looking at Ready 1 and Ready 2. So Ready 1, a total of 1.6 million for projects in Henry County. You can see the projects that are listed, and you can see the amount of ready funds in parentheses, and then you can see a status update. On project 4, under Ready 1, that is the replacement project for the State Road 109 infrastructure. And then on the back of this document is a graphic that explains that project. It is a water project and a sewer project that benefits the industrial park south of Newcastle. And then on Ready 2, we're anticipating $4 million for projects in Henry County. The region has requested approval from the state. That approval has not occurred yet. I am still not worried. The region is hosting a webinar for project sponsors February 21st. And so we'll learn maybe some new information at that meeting. But the last time I checked, a decision from the state is probably about 6 to 8 weeks out. But I continue to be confident that we'll receive approval, although it is not guaranteed. The 2 projects that were submitted from Henry County by the region to the state is the residential development at Washington Street and Memorial Drive here in Newcastle. That's $3.5 million in Ready 2 funds, and then water and sewer infrastructure in Memorial Park at $500,000. By way of a reminder, the commissioners last year approved a consulting engineers contract with United Consulting. We haven't done any work. We've expended no dollars on that contract because that would be paid for by local money, specifically food and beverage. And so I don't want to put that local money at risk until we know the state is going to fund the project. But I do appreciate the commissioners approving the contract, and it's, pun intended, we're ready to go to start design on that water and sewer at Memorial Park when we get approval from the state. The first step in that is going to be a coordinating meeting between the commissioners, and I believe Commissioner Dellinger is the representative from Memorial Park, and a representative from the city utilities. Because we only want to pay for surveying one time. And so we need to have that early coordination meeting in terms of the route of the pipe. and then they can go survey, land survey, to be specific. We only want to pay for that once. So that is the status of that project. And as soon as we get approval, I'll send out an email and organize that coordinating meeting. Are there any ready questions? Because I do have another, I do have an unrelated item that I want to talk about.
Don't believe so. Go ahead.
Okay. So I've briefed you via email about the Economic Development Commission, which is different than the Economic Development Corporation. Economic Development Commission is a creature of statute, and it is a 3-member body. All members are appointed by the Board of Commissioners, but there are nominees, one from the commissioners, one from the county council, and one from the city council. There is a housing project that will need the Economic Development Commission to meet. And so I've been in the process of confirming people's interest in it, in participating and making sure that we have those spots filled. It is likely that that commission will need to meet and hold a public hearing on March 12th. The commissioner's previous nominee is Josh Estel. He is willing to continue to serve. The city council nominee was confirmed or reconfirmed, and that is Mike Broyles. The county council will discuss their nominee this afternoon. I wanted to see if you wanted to take action today on the 2 that are interested in serving. And then I'll come back to you at your second meeting this month after the county council and ask you to appoint whoever their nominee is. Or we can wait and do it all at once. I would rather have 2 of them seated and ready to go.
Obviously, we have Josh is still interested unless you guys have some other nominee that I'm unaware of. I would entertain a motion.
So I make a motion that the commissioners would appoint Josh Estel and that we would accept the nomination of the city council for Mike Broyles.
I second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's all I have unless you have other questions.
Not at this time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Corey. Don't have anything from the chamber or from Josh Estel. I see Angela. Yeah, right there you are. You're fine.
Good morning. I have 2 things. One being some opioid funding requests. And I've met with the committee that we put together, Steve Nelson, Mandy Norman, Jason Craig, and myself, and have reviewed these projects. And I will just summarize them, and then as you have questions, just stop me. So there's 4 total requests. The first one being for the JRAP program, and it's consisting of textbook materials, workbooks that we utilize. Some of them we can use over again, but mainly the workbook, we like for them to actually be able to write in it and keep it and take it with them so they can refer back to as they move on in their journey through recovery. So 18 months, probably a little bit longer, 5 to 6 cohorts or groups of both the gentlemen and the ladies. And so the ask for that is a $5,000 sum for textbook materials. And if you want to vote at the end, or table it or whatever you need to do, we can do that, or you can do it individually.
What's the appetite of the commissioners? You want to just wait till the end, or you want to do each one as they come?
Let's wait till the end.
Okay. And then the next one is from our harm reduction program. And on Valentine's Day this week, we will have our 1-year anniversary of having, through the health department, nursing staff, a harm reduction program has gone on for that whole year. We do HIV, hepatitis C, and other sexually transmitted disease testing at no cost for individuals who have not enough insurance, a high deductible, or no insurance at all. And we work with a lot of different individuals that we get referrals. We work with the Henry Township trustee, the hospital, even the family planning clinic that is down by the high school. And so what we have been doing, we get a lot of things from the state program. But some of the things that we're asking for this is just to kind of put it in a nice, concise package. So pencil boxes, as you can see, are some of the items that we can put the kits together. Some of the stickers have to do with branding so that we can put them on different items as we're at health fairs. It also has our phone number on it so that we can put it on the kits so they'll know how to get a hold of us. Some those little backpack drawstring things like you might get at a convention or something. We've purchased in the past some nice ones that have a zipper on it, and they're waterproof, so any of the items that we give them won't get wet. I think probably the total for that typed out is $4,085, but I just rounded that down to 4,000 just to make numbers easy for Debbie when she's working with it. We are asking for 3 Narcan boxes similar to what is already placed throughout the county. And if we get those 3, our county will have Narcan boxes available to the public literally in all 4 corners. Geographically, we will be extremely well covered, and a lot of communities haven't been able to do that. We've been working with Overdose Lifeline, and they have a grant, and we have exhausted every time that we ask them. They've given us something, but their grant is done for a period of time now. But we really would like to get those 3 boxes up, mainly on our southern corridor. We're thinking we need one at the truck stop at Wilbur Wright Road and 70. We've actually had a couple overdoses out there in the last few months. So that'll service that side of the county that's pretty rural. The truck stop that's at Knightstown and 70. And then we need to get one over in the Moreland, Bluntsville area. So that total would be 4,000. And that should take us well a full year worth of supplies is what that's for. The crisis intervention team training, and I don't know, have you guys, how much do you know about this yet? It's not my committee, but I am sitting on it, and I know that Judge McCord, I don't know if you've had an opportunity to talk to him about this or not.
I have
I
not.
don't.
Okay.
I haven't heard.
If you have seen on Indianapolis News how the police department is working, I think they're so much bigger, they have so much money, but they've hired social workers actually on the police department to go out with a police officer on cases where we have somebody, out of behavior, out of control, where there's signs that it's possibly a mental health crisis situation, and there isn't a component of criminal behavior, so we really don't need to take them to jail. Okay, so we say this all the time. We have a lot of people that end up going to jail because of their behavior, and this is a way to intervene, get them to mental health support services, and keep them out of the jails. So what Judge McCord is working with NAMI, which is our National Association of Mental Illness, and we have a mentor And we are developing a course. It's a 40-hour-a-week course, one time in a lifetime for our officers because we don't have money to pay a social worker and they're hard to come by anyway. But there's a lot of training that we can give to our officers who will give them tons of tools to deal with those situations that they encounter out in the public where that individual hasn't committed a crime, but they absolutely need to be seen by a mental health person. So we can keep them out of the emergency room. We can keep them out of the jail, and we're working directly with Meridian Health Services. And we've already started this in the training while we're trying to develop this training. Other counties are doing it. Delaware County's in the middle of creating their 40-week course. And so we're getting guidance from NAMI. We try to use local partners where our officers can relate with and actually strengthen the bridge between our officers and the resources that they're calling for these individuals. So several of the practitioners from Meridian, psychiatrists and what have you, we have them slated to teach a portion of this. And so they're going to learn all about a lot of different mental health diagnoses with like schizophrenia or oppositional defiance disorder, and kind of get them to understand maybe why this person is having this crisis so we can keep them safe. I say all that to come back to the 40-hour course. So what my position on the team was to secure the venue and the food and the audiovisual equipment. So if we were going to a seminar for a 40-hour course, you know, several $100s lots of times is what they charge in overhead and things. So I have been able to get a quote from the Spiceland Grill and Venue, and they have a gorgeous room with gorgeous audiovisual equipment, and this includes the catering cost for a light breakfast, a lunch, and drinks throughout the day. So we'll have staff that's waiting on them and serving them and what have you, and we'll have use of some really nice equipment. So I was adamant that we just didn't come here or to and the jail has a nice classroom. Please don't misunderstand me, but if we want them to separate and really pay attention to this, it's always good to try to take them somewhere off site. And it's a long week to do that. So it choked me up when I got the estimate. So you have it in front of you. 12,000, but that's all in for the week, for the 40 hours. And so we would like to do that course 2 times in 2025. Our first course date is the week of April 21st, and we're going to have another one in the fall. And we will be focusing on all police officers within our county, the sheriff's office and Newcastle Police and the surrounding areas. And then once we get through those, probably the fall one will have the remainder of the police force, but then we'll have first responders as well to be able to join anybody that might encounter these people out in the public.
Do you feel like there's enough interest in the law enforcement agencies that these spots will be taken advantage of?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. They are starving for a solution because they have come to us, they've come to the judges, that, you know, the sheriff has given excellent examples in meetings that I've been in about people that he has in the jail right now who absolutely are there just on the cusp, a fringe, a very low level, something that the reason that they're there is that we had to get them out of the cold, or we had to get them out of the situation, and they really need mental health support for that. So I think it would, we've had interest. We absolutely have. It's a huge team. Good question. So the 24,000 for that would cover the 2 40-week or 40-hour courses for 2025. And then lastly, we have a project where we are providing Vivitrol, which is an injection that lasts 1 month. And it's honestly not a new drug. It's been here for quite some time, several years. And we've used it most frequently with alcoholism. And you get the injection and it binds with these receptors that decrease the craving for the drug, the alcohol or the meth or the opioid, whatever that is. And it covers several different drugs. You take the shot one time a month. And then, so we have three nurse practitioners who have a small private practice. They also practice here in the community with Henry Community Health, but they're called Mind Mechanics, and they have seen the need for this treatment. And they are utilizing a space in the health department on Fridays right now. And we are also, that whole project is working through the justice system. So people that are in drug court and probationary pleas can agree to get the Vivitrol shot as part of their sentencing. And what it's comes down to the cost of the shot, which is $1,738, which I know it's out of control. This medication prices are out of control. So what we do is, if they're in jail, we've worked with, I think it's QCC is that the name of the company?
Sure.
Sure. Quality Control, Quality Corrections. I think that's the name of them. There's only two and I get them confused. We've worked with them so that if we have an inmate who is getting ready to get out, and wants to be a part of this program, that they get the first shot while they're incarcerated, that is being paid for through some kind of either insurance or some funding that they've been able to work with us on. So there's shot number one. Then they get out, and that gives us not 25, 30 days to get them on insurance and figure out how we're going to pay for that next shot. We have people that are going to fall through the cracks, however. And what the ask is from those that are doing the program is to have a small amount of money set aside for those people who fall through the cracks. It takes minimally 14 days to get their Medicaid HIP reinstated as soon as they were released from jail. If they lose their insurance while they're in jail and it's Medicaid, it takes us 30 days, almost up to 6 weeks sometime, to get them reinstated. And so we also have found out that we can apply for presumptive eligibility. And we've typically used that in the past with pregnant women and children. So there's 4 questions. We go on to the website for the state, and if they qualify and it looks like they're going to be eligible for HIP, we can go ahead, provide the injection, and bill for that injection. And then we work through all the paperwork, and that extends our time a little bit. So we are going to do everything we can, everything in our power to get the insurance payment before we would come to this fund and utilize it. But what we need to be able to do is to not have a delay in their treatment, especially if they get the first one while they're incarcerated. And then it's just red tape. It's not any fault of their own that they might miss that next treatment.
So who makes the choice about, I see the request for funding, but who actually makes the choice for whether or not they get the medication? Set aside a funding issue. We're not deciding if they are able to be given Vivitrol. So who
So
makes
that
choice?
is being decided. Chris Manning and her 2 colleagues are working with Judge Witham, I believe, directly. I know Judge McCord and Judge Crane are both aware of the program, and I've been told that they are on board with it and think it's a good idea. But I think maybe Judge Witham has been the one kind of leading the charge with Chris Manning and her 2 colleagues.
So is this a program that's used widely in the state already?
It's a growing program. And I'll tell you what the irony of it is with Big Pharma, they don't like this because it's $1,738 a month. They make more profit if somebody is put on methadone or Buprenorphine or whatever those things are, where they have to take those pills every day. So from that standpoint, I think it's been difficult to kind of get that inroad to it. And then you have individuals who, and I found this through COVID, but it's unbelievable to me the number of adults that are petrified of needles. And absolutely, if it's a shot, I don't want it. We deal with it all the time. And so, we try to talk to them and we try to give them all the knowledge so they can make an informed decision. And, how much better it is and all this does is, it's blocking the receptors. It's not, when somebody takes methadone, it's replacing the amount of the drug that they were using for their addiction. It's simply a trade-off and they're on it forever. There is no, in the medical community, there is no framework to get these people off of it. Sorry, I have to get on this political soapbox because you asked. So it infuriates me that we put people on a medication and say, we're going to help you become unaddicted, but you're just not going to be addicted to meth or whatever it is, or you're going to be on methadone for the rest of your life. That's insane to me. It's just insane. So that's one of the reasons I think that the judges and the prosecutor's office, when this was presented to them, liked this option. You cannot take this injection, can't pull it back out of your body, you can't sell it. You know what I mean? And that's what people do that too. There's a market for it. So if I'm on methadone and I can go sell it and, I might feel bad for a couple of days, but I may make a few $100 on this handful of pills. This can't be done.
Angela,
Yeah.
when we were at the hospital for that meeting, that gentleman was speaking about something.
Yes.
This is,
Wayne Lawson.
this was the same,
It is the same
very-
medication.
very interesting.
He was very instrumental in working with Chris Manning and her colleagues and the judges to trial this.
So you don't see it as any additional liability to the county for administering another medication? It just falls in the line of other medications we administer at the jail or same type of
Correct.
issue? Okay.
Correct. So liability wise, when we give it in the jail, it's falling under the liability insurance that our medical company that we're contracted with, just like any other medicine we would give. And then we're just providing office space. So we have that we're not receiving any money or funding from the nurse practitioners or the court system at all. We're just trying to be a good partner. Lots of times, and we're doing it on Fridays, people go to drug court, they walk right by our building. So we've made it as convenient as possible for them to get it on the day that they're already here because transportation is typically an issue.
Do you
Do you have
agree with
any?
the liability issue?
I don't see it necessarily creating any additional liability.
I didn't add all of that up together because I assumed Joel would have to.
$53,000,
How much?
53,000 total.
53,000. Okay.
I added it up.
Thank you.
And how often is your review board going to meet? Because I know we didn't complete that circle with Megan Kraus, and just when would she get another opportunity?
We are available at any time. So, just as soon as these all kind of came in at one time. The one for the harm reduction, I've just kind of been sitting on that for a little bit just so I could bring you more than that. Cause I know the process it has to go through, it takes Joel time. So if it were anything urgent, I would come to you immediately. But if you're okay, where if I don't have anything time sensitive, I'll try to do it a few at a time. And that way Joel's only amending the ordinance once. I did reach out to Megan Kraus and the email that was sent to me, and I just haven't heard back from her yet.
She followed up with me yesterday and said.
Did she? Okay.
She said, have you heard anything about this? And I said, well, I forwarded it to Angela Cox and she communicated with you. And so maybe.
I had emailed her like January 27th or something.
You said 31 in the email. you
Was it
sent us.
31? Okay.
Yeah. So my guess is she was just expecting it from me and not you, and maybe it didn't get.
Oh,
So
okay.
I just asked her to check for
Well,
that
if
message.
she
and-
has a
okay,
phone number, if
Yeah.
I could get a phone
Okay.
number, I'd be happy to reach out and call her.
okay.
And then as soon as
call
she
her.
gets me the information, then I will bring that back to her.
Okay.
The one question I have for her, I know they were awarded $30,000 maybe back toward the beginning, and I don't know where they're at with that, if we still have funding that they could use with that or not, or if they used all of that.
I think we're gonna rescind that, or isn't that the one? Yes,
So that, when we approved that, and the council approved it, that was when they were going to be going into the house at Foursquare.
Yes.
And for what, I can't remember the details. There was some issues with building inspection and the state that they couldn't do that. I don't know if we ever, I can't remember if we ever, paid anything to them. But because, my question would be to Joel, because we appropriated, I'd have to see how it was appropriated. Because we appropriated it to that specific project, would that have to be basically rescinded in the opioid and then redone? Because it was specific, yeah. Yeah, because we specifically did it to the,
I was gonna say,
the house.
it was specified, it was specific. for
And
that,
I
so-
don't remember, Debbie,
it
do you,
wasn't-
if the Women's Recovery Center, we did pay money? I couldn't remember. How much did we? Yeah, I just couldn't remember, but that's what that was.
That's all for that.
What was the amount again? 53?
53,000 total for all of it, everything on the paper, so.
Make a motion to approve these 4 items for a total of 53,000.
I second.
I have a motion and a second to approve. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
I
Angela.
did email you and I was able to speak with Steve. I think this is maybe just a courtesy of letting you know, but I have a current grant that there is money earmarked specifically to ensure the cold chain for our vaccines.
Mhm.
So with that, I am able to replace the generator that is behind the old EMA office, kind of in the judge's parking lot there. So Susan, you had good questions. I have answers for those. The generator currently runs all of the old EMA office, and we did during COVID use some money to attach the circuitry to a portion of Suite 208 so that the vaccine and freezers were covered. So when the generator kicks on, I don't lose power to the vaccine refrigeration. It is not big enough to run the whole building. Reason we're replacing it, it's 10 years old. You cannot get parts for it any longer. If it breaks, I could replace the engine, but at that point, it's not much more just to replace the whole unit. That was everything inside.
So will the new generator cover the same things as the previous generator? That'll
Yes.
power the same thing?
Yes, it will. And then I think your other question had to do with the old generator.
Will the grant cover all of the costs, the
Oh.
decommissioning, installation?
It should cover all, I should have funding to cover all of that, yes.
And then, yeah, if the other generators move to one of the volunteer fire departments, will that increase the cost and who would pay that?
Correct. So the decommissioning's about $4,000, and that is to take the old unit off and prepare it for maybe temporary storage or whatever, and to crate it so that we could move it to. And once it's off and crated up, it becomes Troy's.
I'll say it should be
Baby.
property of,
The gift of
EMA,
whoever
yeah.
takes it. yeah.
So I am going, assuming that it will cost something to set it at a different site and get it hooked up, and depending upon what is available at that site could play into that cost. Is there, electric that will match and all those things, some concrete poured. So I don't know that I have to have a vote, but it was because the cost of the generator was $19,771. I think, obviously it'll go on an asset list, but just wanted to make you aware. Plus, I'm doing something a little more than laying carpet in the building.
the only approval we would have to have is if there's a contract being signed, then we would have to approve the agreement itself. Other than that, you purchasing the generator is fine because you're under the threshold.
Okay. I don't, so the term contract,
Mhm.
I
Agreement,
sent you
however
the
you want to.
documents. So I don't know if this constitutes a contract per se.
And you don't need an answer today on that, do you? That's all I'll say, because like there's some moving parts that involve Troy with this too. So as far as swapping out,
Correct.
so I think we'll get
I
close
have
to
to
the
s-
time.
They have them in an email. I have to spend this money prior to January or June the 30th of this year.
Okay.
And they really like for you to have your product in hand before that time. And this is special order, all of them are, and it's a 12-week leeway to get it built and delivered.
Angela, is this a federal grant?
It's our immunization from the state.
It's a state grant. Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, and I
none
know
of the
all
money
the-
comes to the from federal.
Whether they get it from the feds or not, I don't know. It's one we've had for many years. Yeah. Okay, I'll let Joel look at that, but
Okay.
as far as a contract, I don't know that I mean, there's a warranty on it, but it's not like I'm contracting.
I just figured before we agree to an agreement, Joel needs to review it and then we'll agree to
Okay.
it or disagree with it, whichever Joel recommends to us. I think overall what you're wanting to do, I think fine, you fall under the threshold. If you want to go ahead and make the purchase and whatever, when you get closer to the time, we'll coordinate with EMA and Troy to figure out how we're going to
Figure
make
out
this
what we're
work.
gonna do.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Thank,
Coroner's office.
Good morning. I just want to share with you some numbers from 2024. The coroner's office dealt with 175 cases. Now, that's not total deaths. Remember that. This is just cases where the coroner had to be notified. Of those 175 cases, 27 were accidental, 10 suicides, 133 natural, 1 homicide, and 4 undetermined. With broken out in the accidental deaths, overdose deaths fall into that. And unfortunately, I have to report that we did have an increase from 2023. We had 14 in 2023, we had 15 in 2024. So I am excited that you approved opioid money for Angela and the health department's harm reduction program, because that does help educate. And I do work with them to try to educate the community. There are bad drugs. We unfortunately have had some here in the last 6 weeks of the newest of the new designer drugs. So it is here, it is in Henry County, and it's not good. So thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Surveyor.
Good morning. I'm coming to you today to, I had an accident November 27th. As of right now, it looks like it's totaled the car. I'm asking for permission to purchase a new car from the commissioners. I got to go to the county council first after this. Since yours was first, I thought I'd go ahead and explain it to you. We don't know exactly what we're going to get back on the other car, 6 years old. So whatever comes back from that, I'd like to get a 5-year note on it. That's what I did the last time. And then put the bulk of whatever comes back on the old car back into the financing of it. So as far as a big lump sum, then if we have to refinance it then to lower the payments, we can do that. So I have located a car just like mine. The reason I'm looking at one of these is because they're heavy duty. It's an all-wheel drive, which I go out in the fields. You can't take a 2-wheel drive out in the fields. So this one has done good for 6 years. So I have located one in Bloomington, Ford. That's the same place we got the last one in 2019. The total cost, I have an estimate on it. It's $49,047.25. They have financing down there, but I have contacted the banks around here and I assume Debbie would help me on this, of which ones would be the best ones to go to. And see what the lowest financing is. So that's what I'm asking for today. If anybody's got a question, I'll be glad to answer them.
I don't have an objection to doing this. I don't know when. I've talked to Josh at McGowan's about time frame. It's still up in the air on when we're going to get any money. I do agree that any money that comes in should be put on that loan. If it's able to be refinanced, that's something. If we go through Bloomington, I know sometimes they don't offer a refinance on, you just means you pay it off quicker because you put more on it. So that's something you might want to ask them if that has any effect or bearing on it.
Okay.
If we're allowed to refinance and drop that payment for you, I imagine that would be beneficial. And if you want to work with Debbie, if Debbie's okay with it, as far as, getting a bank note local, if it works out better and it's more beneficial. I'm hoping we hear something fairly quickly on this, but I know that you've missed out on a couple opportunities of getting a vehicle because it's gotten sold since this has happened.
Yeah, and this
So-
is a hybrid, so it is gas saving on idling. I think it switches back to some way or another. It does something other when it's idling. It don't use gas. So
Okay.
So you're going to be asking the council for an additional appropriation, or do you have the,
no, I
Okay.
have nope, not in my budget for that. We did it last time they paid for it and we did it on a 5-year note. Paid one payment a year.
okay,
I think that's how we did it, one payment a year, and it's the total for that year, and you pay it, and then you don't pay another one until the following year. So,
You don't have a problem with doing that, Joel, do you? Okay.
and this is a government buying, so it's the lowest you'll get as far as government buying through this company.
I don't have a problem with it. Does anybody have any questions?
No questions.
So we don't need that in the motion for him to ask for approval, do we? Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you. I will need a signature on to hold one of these because they go fast. So he said, if it gets signatures, doesn't matter when I come to get the financing or anything. He said he'd hold a month, 2 months, whatever. But if he doesn't have a signature from one of the commissioners, he can't hold it. So I would have to have a signature for this after I
Well,
talk to
now
the
you're being
council.
specific. You want a commissioner's signature. I just thought you wanted one. I said, pick somebody.
Oh, okay, Joel. So,
All
yeah,
right.
all right, I'll get back.
All right, we'll take care of that. You have anything, Braden? See anybody planning? Sheriff's Department, anything? Debbie? Jenny? Don't see anybody from the park. Lisa, Porter's office.
Hello, we had scheduled a Commission on Public Record meeting for today, but I forgot to advertise it on the doors, so we're rescheduling that for February 26th. They'll also, speaking now on behalf of Bill Upchurch, the treasurer, we're gonna do the Finance Commission meeting on the same date, February 26th. So they can
Okay.
both be advertised.
Okay, thank you. Nine-one-one, Mr. True.
I'd spoken to Steve briefly about this. I sent you all a quote a couple days ago from Custom Electrical Services. So the Motorola radio project that got approved, we discovered we're going to need a little bit more power in the room that has all of our radio equipment, server equipment. while they were here getting a quote, it was brought up about possibly planning for the future. Everything in that room runs off of our UPS backup battery, which was just replaced a year or two ago. We just have a limited amount of circuits in that room, and obviously as technology has grown, we're kind of out of circuits in that room. I had Jeff come down while they were here, and we both discussed it and agreed that it probably would be best to plan for the future while we're needing something done now. It was also mentioned that it's probably cheaper to do it now while they're already here doing the labor. It's going to, for the most part, be the same amount of labor to run one circuit as it would two or three. So they, after we talked, they gave us a quote for 3 additional circuits, and these unfortunately run quite a distance. They run from kind of all the way up towards the front of the building where 911 is. That's where our backup battery is, all the way to the back where the servers and everything are. We really only need one additional circuit probably to get done what we need done with the extra equipment. We think 3 would probably be good for the room to plan for the future. The one wall where our radio equipment and several of our servers are actually only has 1 circuit currently, and the other wall has 2. That side of the room also has some servers and a lot of our network equipment. The thought was if we add 2 more circuits to the wall that currently only has 1, it would give us 3 circuits on that wall. And then we add 1 more to the other wall, it would give us 3 on that wall as well. And that should give us probably anything we would need for lots of years to come. I guess I'm coming to you for approval for that. The quote was, I believe, $4,985.
Yep.
And then to also potentially talk about splitting that costs. I know obviously 911 needs this done to get our project going, but that room does host all the servers, all the network equipment for the entire county, and those circuits are used for all of that stuff, and potential growth would probably come from those things as well in the future. So just wanted to get your thoughts.
Discussion?
Is there going to be any possibility of us moving equipment out because of the water issue?
I don't know where we would take it at this point, and we'd have to redesign everything in that building to move the servers out of the room that's in. And I think with the ceiling project going on in there, hopefully that will take care of that for the foreseeable future. Just from what I've met with all of them over there yesterday, and they seemed confident that because now there's a drain issue that comes from the outside going in and at the end of both of those bays, but they're going to address that at the same time. And like I said, they were fairly confident that would eliminate that. So we should be all right for the foreseeable future, and they are moving that up on their timeline to get it done immediately. So I thought it was critical.
Had you thought about what the split should be?
Not necessarily. I mean, I'd be good with half. Like I said, out of the 3 separate circuits, I'm really only going to be using 1 at this point, but I mean, I'd still be half, whatever you guys think. I mean, I'm good with whatever.
I don't have a problem with us doing half, because it is our building and it is for future growth and expansion.
I agree.
So do I have a motion to approve and us paying half?
I would make a motion to approve and for the commissioners to pay half.
Have a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries 3-0.
All right. Thank you, guys.
O'Brien, you're not wiring Netflix in, are you? You're not wiring Netflix or anything in on that, are you? All right. All right. Want to make sure. I don't see anybody from EMS. We're taking care of Bill. EMA, Mr. Jester.
Thank you. Good morning. I got 3 things. First is the approval needed for submitting to the Ball Brothers Foundation grant. Sent you over in details on that. Kind of a 3-part grant. One part would be a technology upgrade to the training room behind Brian's office downstairs in the Justice Center to equip it more to be able to function as an emergency operations center, but also have the ability to utilize the room for additional training sessions and things like that. The second piece to that grant would be developing a drone capability from the emergency management that could supplement some of the sheriff's capabilities with drone activations, deployments to try to find missing people, individuals, elderly dementia patients that may be lost outside when the time is of the essence to save their lives, to try to find them. The second piece to the drone capability is if the county did suffer from a tornado or any kind of damaging storm, we do have the capability, or we would have the capability to do damage assessments with the drone, cutting that time down to, days rather than weeks to really get out and do visual damage assessments on all the structures that would be damaged. The third part of that grant is to repair one of the props out of the the public safety training facility on Hillsborough Road. It's a ventilation prop that firefighters can utilize, puts them on a structure where they can cut holes in sloped roofs and flat roofs areas because of just having structures to properly train on actual houses is really difficult to come by. And this is a more controlled environment to allow new firefighters and then seasoned firefighters to come in and practice that skill. So the total amount for that project is $21,000. The foundation, I have contacted them and they requested I group all three of those into one grant. And I just need your approval to submit for that. You have any questions about the grant?
That doesn't involve you, does it, Debbie, or does it? Okay. Are you okay?
Just as long as we get all the grant paperwork and application, we're gonna come up with a packet that we're gonna have to send out to every department head again to get us all the information, but as long as we have it, that's fine.
You okay with that?
Mhm.
Okay.
Motion to approve and allow the grant to be submitted.
I second the motion.
I have a motion and a second to approve. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you. I'll need your signature. Yours.
You're another one.
Yours.
Feel like I'm buying a house. All right.
The two other things real quick is just updates on current activities, current projects. The mitigation plan that we've been, working on for several months has been approved. It was approved by FEMA back in December. So now the process of getting all the towns and unincorporated areas to approve that document. We have a year for all of those towns and unincorporated areas in the county to approve it. We send that documentation back to FEMA, and then the process will be complete, and we won't have to worry about it again until 5 years from December 2024. The next is the HyperReach, kind of an update on HyperReach. It is fully operational. My goal to get it fully operational by the end of January. We did meet that with some assistance from the company. So all employees of the county are now entered into that system. So we do have the ability to send out communications to the employees, but we also have the public side active, and we have we're approaching about 1,000 people in the public that have signed up and registered for that tool. So, I just ask, anyone who may have a group or another fundraiser or anything like that, I have a brochure we can get that, send that out, post it at those, locations. It is a free service that the county has funded, obviously, to enhance the county's preparedness. So just an update. Any questions about any?
My dad wondered what it was the first time he got it. My wife signed him up and then he goes, what am I getting this notice for? So it does work.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Troy.
you, Troy.
Takes care of those. Next up, we have work order for TK Elevator. This has been kicked around because of the cost of it for the rates and stuff. Joel, do you have anything to add to that?
Amendments to the language. I don't know, do you have a chance to send nothing back to TK?
No, I did not.
Okay.
Like I said, I'm still struggling with the fact of it's $300 an hour for the mechanic rate and team rate's $500 an hour, but the pit has to be pumped and this has to be done. I don't know how we get away from it. It's holding up part of the inspection because there's some work to be done in that pit. So I don't know if we're at a point where you just have to approve it or not. I just want to make sure you were okay with it.
I think ideally I would like to see the degree change.
Okay.
Approve it, and I know that puts it out in the field.
Well, and that's fine.
Get in a special meeting, certainly I'd like to see if they would be able to adjust the terms to what I proposed or something.
Okay. Okay. Entertain a motion to table that for now.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made, second to table. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Next, we have an IT request for a purchase of a microphone for $539. It's for one of the judges. I talked to Jeff about it. Right now, they're borrowing one for one of the other courts that's not in use at present. Somebody want to make a motion?
Motion to allow purchase.
I second the motion.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Next up is the Malcolm proposal for the perpetuation of annual countywide IVD cost allocation plans for 24-26. Debbie.
So MyCon's done this for a long time. They go back through all of our 4D stuff they work for, they do it for the county and they do it for the clerk as well. But they go back through to make sure that we have allocated, that there isn't any reimbursement costs we get. I think 168,000 was what they brought back to the county this year. He was in the other day. And, but they do this for us every year.
So basically, we're just renewing, correct?
Yeah, and it's not paid out of county general funds. It's actually paid out of the county general 4D funds, which is just can only be spent on child support related, 4D related expenses.
And then what they recoup does go to the general fund, so it's a good deal. I make a motion to renew this.
I second that motion.
Motion made and seconded to renew. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. Now we have a repair on a hot water line mixing valve. The Justice Center for $1,750 from Resolve Tech.
Did we approve this last time for 1132, or is this a different repair?
I thought this was different, but we want to table it for now to make sure and verify that because I wasn't sure. This was the only one I knew of that Resolve Tech had looked into. I didn't have one on.
Let me see if I can find it. If you give me 30 seconds.
Yep. It could be the same. Looks awful similar.
It sounded similar, but not as
Similar,
involved as
several.
you are, obviously. with that.
As I don't know if this may be another one, but, I say we table it till we make sure. Yes, I would entertain a motion to table it.
Motion to table.
Second.
Motion made and second to table. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Next up, we have a conflict of interest disclosure statement from Scott Coons on the council. You have any concerns with this, Joel?
I don't.
Okay,
It's fairly standard form. Typically, these are required for pecuniary gain. I think he's probably filing it just out of caution, given the serves on his two boards and do transact business with the county. Neither of which are for profit. I don't think, from my understanding of speaking with Scott, he's not compensating anybody with the control either, so.
okay.
He gets money from opioid money for the Women's Recovery Center, so, and then on the expo board's why he did it.
So
Go
we
ahead.
just want a motion to accept this?
Yes.
Okay, make a motion to accept this disclosure statement from Scott Coons.
I second that motion.
Motion's been made and seconded to accept. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, motion carries 3-0. Next one is basically informational, I believe, from IDEM for permit application from Grady's, letting us know that they've applied for their permit. Just needs to be filed. We don't need to take any action on that, do we, Joel? And then we have one from IDEM for a sanitary sewer construction permit, which appears to be the new construction out at Knightstown for the hospital facility, for Henry Community Health. We don't even need to approve that, do we? That's pretty much informational. Next up, we have a official bond for Deborah Barnes for the Franklin Township. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Approve. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries 3-0. Next up, we have the government employee benefit agreement. Debbie, do you want to comment on whatever changes was in that, if any?
So what this is for the child support courts, they're looking for a new commissioner. Lynn Liggett retired, and they're having a hard time finding someone. And because we offer insurance to the other part-time attorneys in public defender's office, this is so that we can offer that attorney insurance as well, because the judges think maybe they could get somebody if they offered them insurance. But because we offer part-time attorneys insurance now. I talked to Josh Estel. He said it was fine. We just had to get him a copy of the job description so he would know which one to mark like he did the other ones.
So I'm okay with this after talking with Debbie and Stephanie, and knowing that we're doing this with other part-time people. We're having trouble getting someone to replace in that position without having that benefit, but I'll entertain a motion either way.
So make a motion to accept this revised language to the Henry County Government Employee Benefit Plan.
I second that motion.
Motion's made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Next up, we have a couple of claims that were submitted from the sheriff's office that are in question.
So Josh and I have spoken about this, and the claims themselves are for very legitimate expenses for vehicle upfitting and building maintenance, that they were paid out of the commissary rather than being paid for through the traditional claims process. And so Josh and I have communicated and formally put in writing the claims process that should be followed here going forward. So we have two choices. We can either approve and note that we've documented that we can no longer approve the claims if they don't follow the correct process, or we can deny these and also note that we've documented. The total of the claims is, I think it's 855. About $800. So the financial impact either way isn't really the issue. I think the issue is just to make sure that we're supporting Debbie and making sure all department heads follow the claim process as defined by the State Board of Accounts, by the DLGF. So we want to support Debbie.
And I need weigh in from Debbie and Joel at this point, because it's my understanding we are not supposed to reimburse commissary out of our funds. So I don't want to get into a legal issue here because we're doing this not supposed to.
I would move the statute, commissary going forward. Typically, those funds are authorized for broad category expenditures. I don't know if we reimburse general fund dollars.
I
Okay.
think I sent you guys the statute on that.
Yeah, the statute says it should be rare and that it should be for expenses that were either not budgeted by the council or that exceed the budgeted amount. And so technically, these are just traditional budgeted expenses that should have followed a normal claim process. And we've, documented that now with the sheriff's office. It's very clear, that expectation moving forward.
Well, I'm in a quandary because I don't like the fact that we're going to go against something legal that we shouldn't be doing.
It's this, and this is what I put in writing, is we hate as commissioners to deny a legitimate claim. These are budgeted claims. So, and that's why we just don't want to be in this position in the future where we would be denying a claim for vehicle upfitting when there's funds there. On the other hand, we want to follow the correct process. And so that's why, going forward, we need to make sure this is done correctly.
So I guess at this point, what's the appetite?
Yeah, I really don't think it's a huge impact either way. I don't want to be in this position with $100,000 claim. That's because then the commissary takes a big hit. So I make a motion that we would go ahead and deny, process wasn't followed correctly. And just really important going forward that it is followed correctly, because the hit to the commissary could be more than $800. And then that puts the sheriff's office in a difficult position because they have things they want to purchase with their commissary.
I second.
Motion and a second to deny these two claims. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Next up, we have an ordinance. We've gotten a lot of complaints, and this is basically coming down to one individual in the county that's spurred this. It's created an uproar. It's sad that we have to do this based on actions of just certain people. But I guess DNR's been contacted, IDEM's been contacted, the health department's been contacted, sheriff's department's been contacted, and it's escalated into something now to where we're going to have to do something for the safety and protection of the public. This ordinance is depositing mud and debris on county roads. I'll read it. Now therefore be it ordained by the Board of Commissioners, Henry County, Indiana, as follows. A person who operates a motor vehicle, tractor, or other equipment that drops, tracks, or deposits mud or debris on a county highway, or owns or directs the operation of a motor vehicle, tractor, or other equipment which drops, tracks, or deposits mud or debris on a county highway, or owns real estate from which a motor vehicle, tractor, or other equipment enters upon a county highway and drops, tracks, or deposits mud or debris on a county highway shall be subject to a fine of $100 for the first offense in a calendar year, up to $500 for each subsequent offense in a calendar year. The person that described in subsections 1A through 1C shall be jointly and severely liable for each offense. A person shall not be in violation of the ordinance if within 2 hours after being notified of a violation, the mud or debris is removed from the county highway, provided, however, that the county highway shall be under no obligation to notify any person of the violation of this ordinance. In addition to the fines set forth in section 1 of this ordinance, persons described in the subsections 1A through 1C shall be jointly and severally responsible for the costs incurred by Henry County, either through its own workforce or hired contractors in removing the mud or debris from the county highway. The purpose of this ordinance, person shall mean any natural person's trust, corporation, partnership, association, limited liability company, or other entity. This ordinance shall be effective upon passage and publication required by law. Any discussion?
Okay, so I've had some family illness. I haven't had a chance to drive by this property. And I think I need to do it because right now I'm not quite ready to sign this because it feels like the noise ordinance where we may have some unintended side effects. But if I saw the property, I might feel differently, which is where I think you're at right now.
Did you see the email?
I saw
sent
the
you from-
pictures. I
Okay.
looked at the pictures. I just want to drive by myself. So I will probably not vote for this today until I have a chance to look at it myself because it feels restrictive when you have farmers out with combines. They're pulling dirt onto the road at times because it's muddy while they're trying to work.
And I agree with you, and that's why I talked to Joel right before the meeting. I don't want to be restrictive to farmers. I believe this should be complaint driven more so. And I've talked to several people. Right now, my concern is this property, and Joe can weigh in on this because this has been going on for a long, long time.
It's been probably 7 or 9 years. To know exactly how many years it's been, I don't know. But the complaints in this particular area, I think, are covered pretty well in this ordinance. I don't think it would be something where a combine coming out of the field would happen to have some dirt that could be swept off within 2 hours of the way it's worded there. But this particular area has been an area of concern for a number of years. And just most recently, I've received probably 5 or 6 phone calls and pictures from some of the people that happen to be neighbors of mine that live in that area saying, what in the world are we doing if we cannot clean this mess up? And obviously this has been thought about and talked about for at least 2 months or so on our part. And along with the people that Steve has mentioned with the Indiana Department of Environmental Management, the Sheriff's Department, and the list goes on about people that have been contacted about this. I just thought this was probably the best way of handling this. I do have a question. Who writes the fine? Who writes the notice to appear on something like this?
Well, I think it could be, the sheriff's department, it could be the state police, it could even be the county highway department. Now, the county highway department's not gonna have a ticket book. What you'd have to do is send the person a letter and say you violated the ordinance and you have X number of days to pay the fine. If they don't pay the fine, just like if somebody doesn't pay a traffic ticket, they've got to go to court and the judge has to determine whether or not they violated the ordinance.
And this would work in our court here.
Yes, yeah, it'd be like any other ordinance. You could enforce it in the circuit courts.
Also, because my concerns are, I know I even had this discussion during our drainage board meeting this morning. I do not want to restrict any farmer from doing their job. That is not the purpose of this. And like I said, prefacing this, it's sad that one person has created such an uproar and such a mess over several years. The sad part is, if we do nothing, we have put the county, at my opinion, severe risk being liable, because at the one end of this is a hill, and people are telling me they're going out into oncoming traffic coming up this hill to avoid being in this mess. So if we do nothing, and something happens and someone gets hit, killed, injured, whatever, then they're going to come back on the county as far as why we did nothing. And I asked Joel, can we, during the process of this, amend it if something comes up to change something that we didn't foresee? And he said, we can amend it at any time. So any concerns that you would have going forward, we could always go back and address. If,
But what about number 4, where it says, in addition to the fine, the persons described will be jointly and severally responsible for the cost incurred by the county so are we talking about then having the highway department or someone go clean it up and bill
if
them?
they don't clean it up, yes, whatever the cost would be incurred by the county to clean it
And
up.
if they don't pay the bill?
Same thing.
Court. And most people, because we had the same issue when we dredged the ponds at the park, the dump trucks going in and out of Greensboro, sand and gravel, they wound up getting a broom attachment for a skid loader because it kept piling up, and they swept the road every day to keep the road cleaned up, and no harm, no foul, everything was fine. And if we have something like that, I was told that, like during the tomato harvest, those guys are on a strict time deadline getting in and out, and they're going to track mud off those roads, but they're pretty good about coming in and cleaning the road. And even if it means just taking a tractor down and scraping the mud off, at least there was an attempt made to keep it off the road. There were several people who said they had hit this particular spot when it's been with a little bit of rain on it, and it's like driving on ice. And I'm afraid where we're going to wind up if we don't. I mean, we don't have to take action on it if you guys don't want to, but I just think we need to do something sooner than later because we're going to be in trouble.
So there's 2 things. I don't see anything about like the extent of the mess in here or the time that it's existed. And that even though we only intend to apply it for extensive mess that has been a recurrent issue, maybe it could be added. But again, I'm not ready to vote for it today, but I understand what you're saying.
And I had a thought about that. I mean, there's not, I guess I'm not aware of an objective way to measure a quantity of mud on a roadway. I suppose you could word it that, it tracks mud debris in such a manner that could reasonably create a hazard for other vehicles or pedestrians. That leads to some judgment on it, but certainly it sounds like this situation that you guys are seeking to address would certainly meet that by any person's definition. So I think I'd be comfortable if you added that wording such that it, reasonably creates a hazard to other drivers or other passerbys or something like that, that quantifies it that such a mess that, it's not somebody drops some dust on the roadway is not going to be a violation. But if somebody cakes mud on the road such that if a motorcycle were to hit it, it would cause an accident, then I certainly think that's what you're trying to prevent. So I think I would be comfortable with that, adding it to that, and then allowing it to be the judgment. If somebody says, no, it's not, then that's why we have courts to hear those determinations. So.
Are you okay with that? We add that
And
language.
what about, is this for a chronic issue or?
Well, and that's why I said it probably should be complaint driven. And I don't know where you draw the line, how many complaints is
Yeah.
enough?
I was talking to my son, he helps farmers out, like, what about this, what about this? He says, well, a lot of times we'll come back at the end of the day and clean up. Or, if we drop logs while we're moving, then on the way back home, we look for them. Or, I mean, what do we think, if it's not a hazard, but it's been dropped and it's picked up the next day, or, I don't know. I just haven't had a lot of time to think through this and want to make sure it's.
I mean, there's going to be variables and we can't plan for every one of them. You can't do that with any law that's ever passed or any ordinance for that matter, because there's going to be something that comes up. I just wanted to get something on record that we are doing something to resolve this issue because this obviously keeps growing. And the pictures I got from the health department were sent last week, and it was a mess. And I actually had one of the board members on the drainage board said that they had been by there and it's been a constant chronic issue.
So is it a state of the property or just what the fallout is onto the road that we're talking about?
It's mainly what's on the road from the property owner, and it happens, well, Braden,
certain property that's a constant, every day they're dragging stuff out on the road.
Is it draining out onto the road or their equipment is dragging it out onto the road?
It is very much a safety issue, very much needs to be addressed. We very seldom ever get phone calls about farmers. Most of the guys are good about going out cleaning the messes up off the road. Most of them, well, I've never seen a farmer make a mess like the mess that you're seeing on this particular stretch of road. My only thing is if we do, if this ordinance does pass, I think we need to state who is going to handle taking care of this issue as far as who's going to send the notices out. Whether it be the county highway, whether it be the sheriff's department, but I think it needs to be consistent. I don't think one time it needs to come from the county highway, the next time it comes from the sheriff's department, the next time it comes from the state police. I think it needs to be something that's consistent, sent out by the same department. That way everybody's on the same page when this ordinance takes effect on who's going to send these notices out.
Could it come from the commissioner's office?
he could.
That's the one standard. You guys get the complaints, commissioners send out the letter.
Not to put you on the spot, Josh, but are you somewhat aware of what we're talking about?
Everyone's aware but me right now.
I am, not exactly sure on I know it's northeast, right?
Yeah.
My concern, we don't have a problem at all addressing it. But if the county highway's having to clean things up and we're charging, it would be nice if it was all, not one entity doing this and then another doing this. So, we have no problem doing that. That's our job. And, we're getting those complaints as well. But just tracking, how much money it's going to cost the county, I think is my only concern. Other than that, we don't have any problem enforcing it.
Okay. I figured you were probably aware of what we were talking about because I figured you were getting probably as many calls as the rest of us are getting on it.
Yes, and it's similar to, you got animals running loose. We don't go out typically and just write a ticket on the first offense. If it's a habitual problem, then we'll address it.
And that's the reason this has been brought up, is this has been ongoing, like Joe said, for years, and it just keeps escalating. And the fact that we've done nothing all these years as a board, I think that's why we are at the point we're at now. And that's why I prefaced this whole conversation with the fact that it's sad that one person has caused us to have to create an ordinance to protect everyone.
Yes, I do appreciate the language being added too, that helps us if we're the ones enforcing it, if it creates a risk or whatever.
Okay.
But yeah, we're more than happy to help any way we can.
Okay.
So maybe if we add the language about the creation of a hazard and we make it clear who's going to handle the complaint, and then can we consider issuing a warning for a fine?
I mean, we can. You're okay with redrafting that?
Sure.
And do we want to approve it contingent on those being added? And that's okay?
Yep.
Is everyone
Make a
okay
motion
with that?
to pass ordinance 2025-02-1, 2, 001.
And do you want to make that contingent on the changes we discussed?
Yes. You want
Yes.
to add that to your motion?
Yes, it's contingent on the additions that Joel will add in regards to the enforcement, first-time warning, and so forth.
And I'll second that.
Okay.
We never nail down who issues the complaint, but I'll second that.
We'll have a conversation on that to figure out who's going to do it. It's like, I agree with Josh, it needs to be, and Braden, that it needs to be organized to where it's, we're not jumping all over the place and everybody, different people are doing it. And this is probably going to be a fluid process as it goes, because there may be things we need to amend going forward. So I have a motion and a second to approve contingent on all the changes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Next, we have a resolution between the county council, county commissioners, city of Newcastle opposing legislation that will have a devastating impact on local units within the state of Indiana. This refers to, I think, SB 1 that's being considered now. But do I need to read all of this, Joel?
No, you go, I mean, I think you got to summarize what the key points are, and then now there will be a resolve.
I'll say, 'cause the only issue I have, and correct me if I'm wrong, Joel, if our state legislators pass something, is this going to be worth the paper it's printed on right now?
No, I mean, it's similar to the state.
It
Okay.
is. It's
Basically, we're
making
just
a statement.
protesting what they're
Yeah.
trying to do right now. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that everybody understood that this is not anything that's binding. We're angry, and we want them to know we're angry.
And
Okay.
you did see that most of it's been dropped.
Yeah, and that's the thing I hate
Now-
to read through, because some of this has been taken out since.
But I still think that it could make a good, I mean, they're still going to be reevaluating, it looks like the next several budget or the next several legislative sessions. So it is just a formal way to express our opinion. So
Hey, Steve, right before I came in, I got an email that actually, because you questioned me about this morning, some of these ordinances in the letters from the county is what made legislators change their mind and go back and revisit Senate Bill 1.
Okay.
so let's add another one to it.
And I have no problem doing that. I just wanted to make sure, because I don't know how many of these things that are on here now have been dropped, so I hate to read all of them and they're not really there. Because I haven't reviewed it in its current form now to say that, oh, this isn't on here and that's not on here now, but
I know that changed yesterday, so the actual fiscal impact may not be quite what it's stated in the resolution.
Yeah.
It, at least as originally contemplated, would have had those impacts.
yes, because whereas key proposals would add a impact statewide on local governments and schools exceeding $2 million mark. There were a lot of these things that, with amounts mandated, income tax increases being the only alternative proposed by lawmakers, homeowners, and proposed tax cuts endeavored to assist would be among the same individuals paying the increased income tax, making businesses the only real recipient of the tax cuts. Those individuals who not own their own home would see a tax increase. Proposed measures adopted across Henry County units and forced to make significant cuts to safety, educational, and other essential services, and all the corporations would receive tax cuts that really be short-lived. And Indiana is unable to attract and retain an adequate and thriving workforce, whereas the eliminations are to take place. School districts across Henry County will be forced to make dramatic cuts in support, transportation, bus replacement, school funding, maintenance, and technology upgrades. The impact of the county Newcastle schools is significant real property, and the projected loss to Henry County local government would lose approximately 1.6 million in 2026. Schools could lose approximately 2.68 million, and the other losing in amount projected to be approximately 950,000. And the Henry County 16 cities, towns would lose an estimated 1.31 million, townships 209,000, libraries estimated 203,000 in 2026, with amounts projected to be increased by 18.5% in 2027, with a total of approximately units of government losing 6.9 million. So all that being said, I have no problem adopting this resolution. But I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries 3-0. Anything from the public? Going once. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. We are adjourned.